Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melanie, and we have, I think, our second to last video of the year, or it might be our last. I think my last one might be going out on January 1st. So, very exciting, but I have yet to figure out what my favorite book of the year is. So I thought I would do that with you and kind of by process of elimination figure out what might be my favorite book of the year. So how I'm going to do this is I've already selected my favorite book of each month. Some of them have two because it's hard to decide, and I couldn't really figure out if I want to go with like the best book or like the most enjoyable book of the month, because those are two very different things. So I decided to do like a bracket style elimination. So I needed 16 options anyways in order to like do that properly. So we have 16 favorite books out of the 12 months of the year. So 4 of the months have 2 favorite books. So I will first talk you through all of my favorite books for each month, and then we'll get into the bracket style elimination, which I have a jar here filled with all of the books, and we'll kind of pull randomly to get kick-started, and then I have my books here to show representations and track the bracket. So let's get started. So for January, I picked 2 books because I couldn't pick between both of them. The first one being I Who Have Never Known Men, as no surprise to people who've seen my tier ranking video. This one was the very first book I read this year, and it still stayed with me, and I absolutely love it. For sake of time for this video, because I've been posting very long videos recently, and I don't want to spend hours editing, I would not be going through synopses on these, but you can see any of my previous videos where I talk about them in more depth. So this is the first favorite, and then second we have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. I Who Have Never Known Men is by Jacqueline Hartman. I forgot to say that. But Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson is also a very fun read, so I didn't know if I wanted to go for like fun versus like really well done, so I kept both. For February, we have Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. Sci-fi, well, kind of sci-fi historical fiction. Very tough, dark read, but very well done. That's February. I'm going to go through these quickly so we can get to the fun part. March, we have The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. Weird story, like craziness, random gore, just, yeah, weird structure as well. So, you know, right up my alley. For April, we have Red Rising, which is the first book in the Red Rising original trilogy, obviously. This is by Pierce Brown. This one, I fell in love with how he writes strategy and leaves cliffhangers basically at the end of each chapter, so it kept me going. My favorite book out of the series so far. May, surprisingly, we have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This one I loved. I fell in love with it. It was exactly what I needed, like a cozy Regency fantasy with some romance. So yeah, it was great. Some of these books, I had weird reading months where I didn't have any 5 stars. So like, I mean, Half a Soul was a 5-star, so that doesn't count, but it was hard to pick based on just the month because some were weird months. But I think generally I have a good selection. So we'll keep going with June. June, we have 2 picks. And not all of my picks are my 5-star reads. Like some months I had 5-star reads and I didn't pick those because I don't know. I just didn't. So I don't know. Like, that's what I mean. Like, star ratings aren't necessarily always like super accurate to how a book makes you feel. So yeah. June is The Fire Next Time is the first option. Nonfiction essays, 2 essays by James Baldwin, very impactful. And then The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This is the first in the Dandelion Dynasty series. Epic, lots of characters, lots going on, interesting world. So this one I didn't even give 5 stars, but I think about this book a lot and I love the start of the series, so I'm putting it in one of my favorite books of the year. For August, I think that was the most I read this month, so it was a bit hard because I did have some really great reads. But the first one is The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. Just masterful writing, masterful character development, masterful storytelling. Just very, very good book, though it is dense. And then we have Carlos Ruiz Zafón's Marina. This one, I also didn't give 5 stars, but like I said in my tier ranking video, this one I think about constantly, and the gothic vibes are there, the story is there, the characters are there, and the scary creepiness is there. So, yes. September, I also have 2 books for, and the first one is A Secret History by Donna Tartt. This one, reading it took me a while to get used to, but thinking back on it more, like as after I've read it, I understand why it's so good, or like why her writing was so good. Like the character developments itself, like this was masterful in that way. So that is going to be a favorite, even though I don't think this is like my most enjoyable book of the year. And then on the flip side of this month, we have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, which I don't have physically, but I read it via ebook, and that is just that's my favorite T. Kingfisher book. Also not a 5-star, but a really fun romp. This one isn't a 5-star either, but that one was just like a very fun character, like cozy but dark read, so right up my alley. October, definitely Slewfoot, and I'm so happy I read this in October because it fits October very well. Horror-y, creepy Puritan colonial life, really annoying religious people, and yeah, just very, very interesting read, and I had a lot of fun with it. Oh, and I totally skipped July. For July, we have Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I read this so quickly, and I thought it was so interesting, and I did give it 5 stars. Do I think it deserves 5 stars still? I'm not sure. But I thought it was very interesting, and I said interesting already. But the way she wrote the characters in the different timelines, I just wish she did a little more creepiness. I think that's my one thing. But I really enjoyed her writing, and I can't wait to read more from her. For November, we have There by Tommy Orange. This probably comes as no surprise. I loved this book. It was definitely the best book I read in November. Very dark, very great character development. Multiple stories lead to one. Yeah. Love this book. And then last but not least, December. I still haven't finished my last book of December, so I don't know if it'll replace it at some point, but it doesn't matter to me anymore. December has been a fine month, but I will say my favorite so far has been The White Book by Hong Kong. It's just so interesting and weird, and it took me an hour to read because it's so short and like the pages are really small. But I thought it was a very interesting way of writing and theme, and I want to read more from her, obviously. So this is December's winner. So that wraps up all of my favorite books of each month. So let's get into the bracket, because I'm hoping it will be accurate in helping me find my favorite book by pitting books against each other. But I guess it really depends on what books are pitted against each other, because some of these are very easy, like no's, and some of these are very easy yeses. So we'll see what happens. But let's get started. So I'm going to start by picking 2 at a time, and these are the books that will be going against each other. So here's 1, here's 2. I'm not going to show you these because you know what books are coming. So the first one is I Who Have Never Known Men and House of the Spirits. Ooh, okay, let's grab these. Here we go. Okay. You would think this one would be hard, but it's not, because House of the Spirits wins. So that goes to the next round. Sorry, I Who Have Never Known Men. Next round. I'm going to go through this quickly because I don't need to take a ton of time on this. The Fire Next Time and Nettle and Bone. So I don't have Nettle and Bone physically, but we have Fire Next Time, Nettle and Bone, and the Fire Next Time will definitely be the winner. And so I'm putting like them in pairs as we go for the next bracket, so it's still random, but I know what's coming, so that's fun. Red Rising and Half a Soul. Ooh, this one's interesting, but I think I'll have to go with Red Rising. Okay, we have Kindred and Grace of Kings. Oh, okay. This one's a little harder. I think I'll go with Kindred. I'm trying to be decisive. but it's hard. So we'll go to the next one. You Meet in the Nightmare Painter and Slewfoot. Ooh. Okay, that's also hard. I think I'm gonna have to go with Slewfoot. Yeah, that's gonna happen. Okay, I'm making a mess on my floor right now. Marina versus Library of Mount Char. These two, I'm gonna have to go with Library of Mount Char. I'm seeing what's getting paired up for the next round, and I'm kind of scared. So next is Our Lives Under the Sea, and then There, There. And this one's definitely gonna have to be There, There. And then last but not least, we have The Secret History versus The White Book. And I'm gonna go with Secret History, surprisingly. Okay, I don't need these anymore. So I have my piles in front of me for the next round, which is, there's 4 rounds of this. So starting with The Fire Next Time versus The House of the Spirits, I'll have to go with The House of the Spirits. Kindred versus Red Rising. This one is very difficult because they're very different. They're both very dark, but in very different ways. And I don't know if I should go for like better writing and concept, but also this is very good concept. Ooh. So this is when it gets hard because I have honestly no idea what to pick. I'm gonna go with Kindred. I read it longer ago, so this one is more fresh in my mind, but I do remember like being floored by it. So Kindred. Ooh, that's gonna be a tough pairing. Okay, next we have Slewfoot and Library at Mount Char. This is also very hard because I read this so long ago, and this is definitely a new fave, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Library at Mount Char because that one blew me away. I mean, this one did too, but in a very different way, so sorry. Okay. I'm scared. This one won't be that hard. Secret History versus There, There. I'm gonna go with There, There because I loved it. Okay. I'm kind of scared for the ending because this is me like forcing myself to be decisive because I couldn't figure out it on my own because I read so many good books this year. So, but I think it'll be accurate. Let's hope it's accurate. So the next round, last 2 rounds, is Kindred versus The House of the Spirits. And I think I have to go with The House of the Spirits. I'm sorry, Kindred. And then we have The Library at Mount Char versus There, There. I think I'll have to go with The Library at Mount Char. And that leaves The House of the Spirits and The Library at Mount Char, which is kind of what I was thinking would be the last 2, but I wasn't fully sure. So I guess this is an accurate way of picking your favorite book if you want to do it. And it's kind of impossible to pick between these, but I will do it anyways for you. So either of these books are fantastic and great. Read trigger warnings for this one for sure, and this one as well. Yeah, I mean, I like dark. My channel name is A Dark Corner of the Library, so it's fitting. This one, denser, took me a lot longer to read. This one I kind of flew through more. And I will say, this one is weirder. And I really like weird. So I think I'm gonna go with The Library at Mount Char as my favorite book of the year. Which makes sense, because I think I felt that way when I read it first, but it was very early on in the year. So I read a lot of great things, but this one still has stayed with me and I want to reread it. Though I'm not always inclined to reread a ton of books just because there's so many like new books that I want to read, but I think I'll eventually reread this one because it was wild and I want to relive it. But yeah, my favorite book of the year is The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. So if you want to know what to read for next year, try this one. Though, like I said, check trigger warnings, and this isn't for everyone, but if you like weird, dark really messed up storylines with weird characters that you don't expect, this is right up your alley. So thank you for joining me in finding out my favorite book of the year. I believe, yeah, I do think this is my last episode of the year, so Happy New Year to everyone, and I'll see you on January 1st. I hope you all have a great day. Bye. Jar here, which I have a jar here. Oh, I took the wrong book.